Hey guys, what's happening? So this is another one that happened this weekend. I think I mentioned I had like 6 or 7 downloads this weekend. So this is another one. I'm actually going to share two of them in this video. Okay, so the first one was I saw this guy and they were on a plane and there was what looked like a pyramid, right? And then the guy was running and he was climbing up the pyramid, but the understanding was that this guy's climbing to the top of the mountain and everyone was celebrating. There was a huge amount of energy and joy. But the picture didn't measure with what I was feeling. It made no sense. So I understand it was a mountain and the dude was a giant, but if I'm being honest, the mountain was not very big relative to his size. So it's almost like me climbing up, like if a house, the size of a house, like if that was a perfect pyramid at like a 45-degree angle, and if I climbed up it, it's not that big of a deal because it's not that hard. So that's what it showed me. So then I'm just standing there like trying to make sense of that. And then he showed me that the mountain went like it just shot up like really high, like a mile high. And then as that was shooting up, I was being zoomed out. And then when I zoomed out, I could see almost like in a giant square was this incredible sphere with just millions of numbers. And these numbers were moving in a way that was so synchronous. It was like one of those watches, but it had like a gazillion moving parts and it was just harmonious. And then I'm looking back at it, and then the guy on top of the mountain is like he's like this freaking big, like now that I'm zoomed out, almost like an iceberg, but the iceberg from hell. And the understanding was that like this is, you kind of figured out the matrix, you conquered the matrix. And I feel funny saying that, I really do. But that's how it showed me. And I mentioned in the other videos that they give us visuals in order to help us understand, on this realm, how things kind of work. So yeah, it showed me that this weekend. And then and then part of that vision was I found myself I was like in a room. And then I was like on a table and I was almost like in a planetarium, okay? Like that's the best way I can describe it. And then there were these hexagonal shapes, and there were some big ones. There was maybe two and then maybe like four more. And they were big in size. The biggest being, and they represented my family. So the biggest being my mother, my father, or just, the mother and the father. It wasn't my exact family, but it represented the mother and the father, and then like three other hexagons that were smaller, but still very relative. And the understanding it was that when you're small, you mean a lot to these things right here. And then the baby started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, like he was growing into a man, almost like on fast forward. And then when I looked up at the dome, all the hexagons got like smaller and smaller and smaller. And it wasn't in a diminishing way, but it was more so because you're making room for more hexagons. And then the understanding was that the longer you like if we're gonna understand the goal of this lifetime of being alive, is that whoever, and then it showed me that picture of that old picture when it had this fancy house with all the cars, and it says, "He who dies with the most toys wins." It showed me that picture because it says this is how we want you to understand it on your level. So back to the thing. So then it kept on multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, and then it showed me that the more hexagons you have, the smaller and condensed you're gonna get. And then that will eventually form. And then it showed me kind of like a funnel. And everything was kind of coming into a funnel like this. And it got to a point where like you exploded. And the understanding was that if you enlighten so much people, you're kind of building up that energy where you can yourself become, that's how you become greatness, or it's part of your path, it's part of your ascension. That's how you become godlike, is by doing good to other people, by lighting other souls. That's the whole point of the game. And so that blew me away, because I think that's a great analogy, especially when it showed me that picture, because I used to have that picture when I lived back in New Jersey 30 freaking years ago. I had it in my wall. And it said something like I had two of them. The other one said justification for higher education, which is kind of like why I wanted to go to school and get my master's and all that shit. But that's not what he showed me. It showed me that he who dies with the most toys wins, because it wanted me to understand that's the goal of us being here, is to light up as many other souls as we possibly can. That's how you win the game, if you're going to look at it that way. It's not about service to self. It's all about service to others. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.